Imagine a man who had his own private army, more than 10,000 fighters, tanks, and entire territories under his command. A man whose single decision could shake the entire global heroin trade. More than half of the narcotics flooding American streets came through his network. People called him the Opium King. But the real question is, was he only a ruthless drug lord? Or a freedom fighter for his people? This is the story of Khun Sa, one of the most powerful and controversial warlords the world has ever seen. Khun Sa, born Changchi-fu in 1934 in Shan State, Burma, today's Myanmar, lived a life shaped by contradictions. His father was a Chinese merchant, and his mother belonged to the Shan ethnic minority. This mixed heritage gave him a dual identity. On one side, he considered himself the leader of the Shan people, while on the other, his Chinese lineage gave him business acumen and political leverage. Growing up, he witnessed poverty and political chaos. Burma gained independence from the British in 1948, but freedom was followed by ethnic conflicts, civil wars, and tribal unrest. The Shan people had long demanded autonomy, and in this environment, Khun Sa's ambitions were born. As a teenager, he was already exposed to militias and weapons. He started working with small gangs, but unlike ordinary criminals, Khun Sa had a vision. He realized Shan State's most valuable resource was opium, known on the global black market as white gold. By the 1950s, he had allied with local militias and built the foundation of his own private army, later known as the Shan United Army, SUA. What began as a ragtag militia grew into a disciplined force with thousands of fighters. Khun Sa armed them with modern weapons, trained them, and presented himself not as a gangster, but as a protector and freedom fighter for the Shan people. While he was building power through drugs, he simultaneously played the nationalism card, which made him both feared and admired. By the late 1950s, Khun Sa was already a regional power player, commanding borders with Thailand and Laos, and equipping his army with rifle, machine guns, and even tanks. This was just the beginning. Soon, he would rise as the undisputed king of the Golden Triangle, the world's heroin hub. The 1960s marked the real rise of Khun Sa. Burma's central government was weak, torn apart by ethnic wars and insurgencies. In such chaos, men like Khun Sa thrived. His private army expanded rapidly, reaching tens of thousands of fighters, not only Shan locals but also mercenaries and criminals. He equipped them with weapons from the black market and paid them salaries, even taking care of their families. Over time, his army became a parallel state controlling vast areas of Shan territory. The smartest move Khun Sa made was seizing control of the opium trade. The Golden Triangle, where Burma, Laos, and Thailand meet, was the world's largest opium-producing region. Dozens of small gangs operated here, but Khun Sa either absorbed them into his empire or crushed them militarily. By the mid-1960s, his name echoed everywhere. He launched massive opium caravans, hundreds of trucks and ponies carrying drugs across borders into Thailand, beyond the reach of government forces. Each caravan was worth millions of dollars. To the outside world, he was a feared drug baron, but to his people, he presented himself as a freedom fighter. He declared the SUA was fighting for Shan independence. This dual identity was key. He was both a criminal mastermind and a folk hero. In 1967, Khun Sa staged his first major showdown with the Burmese army in the Opium War of 1967. His forces clashed with government troops in brutal battles over drug routes. Although temporarily defeated, Khun Sa's legend only grew stronger. Locals whispered, "Even if Burma's army wins, Khun Sa will never die." By the end of the decade, he was the undisputed warlord of the Golden Triangle, standing at the gates of an empire that would soon dominate the global heroin trade. In the 1970s, Khun Sa transformed into more than a warlord. He became the world's most powerful drug kingpin. As heroin addiction skyrocketed in America and Europe, Khun Sa's Golden Triangle supplied nearly half the global demand. He ran his network like a corporation, buying opium from local farmers, refining it into pure heroin in jungle labs, and smuggling it via caravans into Thailand and Laos. From there, international traffickers shipped it to New York, Los Angeles, and European capitals. By the mid-1970s, 40–50% of the world's heroin supply was under his control. Each shipment was worth millions. Khun Sa built not just wealth, but an entire shadow state. His army grew to over 20,000 soldiers. In his territory, he established schools, hospitals, and tax systems. He imposed his own law and order, rewarding loyalty with protection and punishing betrayal with death. International reporters visited him, fascinated by his boldness. In the 1980s, he famously told one American journalist, "If the U.S. wants to win the war on drugs, buy me out. Give me $20 million and I will quit heroin." But behind this businessman image was grim reality. In the 1980s alone, thousands in America died of overdoses from his heroin. The U.S. DEA declared him the most wanted drug lord in the world. At the same time, Khun Sa cleverly played politics. He claimed he sold drugs only to finance Shan independence. To his followers, this made him a hero. But in truth, freedom struggle was just a mask for his empire. By the 1980s, his power was unmatched. People called him the Opium King, not as a nickname, but as a title he had truly earned. But as his empire expanded, so did the enemies circling around him. Khun Sa's empire wasn't just about drugs, it was about manipulation. He balanced between being a drug lord and a supposed freedom fighter. He renamed his forces the Maung Thai Army, MTA, publicly declaring it fought for Shan independence. Privately, its main job was protecting opium fields and caravans. Rumors say during the Cold War, Khun Sa even had indirect links with the CIA, which supported anti-communist militias in Southeast Asia. His army and resources proved useful in that shadow war. Thailand's military intelligence tolerated him for years, as his convoys fueled their border economy. Meanwhile, Burma's government called him their public enemy #1. Yet many Burmese officers secretly cut deals with him, taking bribes to let his caravans pass. To international media, Khun Sa repeated the same line. "I sell drugs because the world demands them. I fight for my people's freedom." To some, he looked like a Robin Hood figure. But to America and Europe, his heroin created hundreds of thousands of addicts. In 1989, a U.S. federal court indicted him and placed a $50 million bounty on his capture, the largest in the world at that time. But Khun Sa was untouchable, living in a jungle fortress guarded by thousands of troops. Still, the pressure was mounting, and by the 1990s, his empire began to crack. The 1990s were Khun Sa's downfall. America, Thailand, and Burma joined forces to dismantle him. The DEA bounty of $50 million made him the most wanted man on earth. Thailand, once his ally, now launched attacks on his caravans. But his biggest blow came from within. His own commanders and fighters started rebelling. Many claimed Khun Sa only used freedom struggle as a cover while enriching himself. This internal mutiny weakened his Maung Thai army. Burma's military seized the moment. By the mid-1990s, government troops attacked his strongholds. His drug routes collapsed. His money flow dried up, and his empire crumbled. In 1996, the unthinkable happened. Khun Sa surrendered. But even in surrender, he outsmarted everyone. Burma's government struck a deal. If he retired peacefully and dissolved his army, they would protect him from U.S. extradition. Khun Sa accepted. He disbanded the MTA, handed over his fighters, and walked away. Instead of prison, he was given a luxurious life in Yangon, living as a retired businessman. The Opium King had stepped down, but on his own terms. After surrender, Khun Sa lived quietly in Yangon. He owned mansions, luxury cars, and legal businesses like construction and transport. Burma's military junta treated him as an asset. His billions were useful for the economy. For the U.S., it was an insult. The DEA demanded his extradition, but Burma refused. Khun Sa was untouchable. Among the Shan, his legacy was divided. Some hailed him as a freedom fighter who raised funds for their cause. Others condemned him as a selfish drug lord who destroyed lives. By the early 2000s, Khun Sa vanished from the global stage, living like a retired king in his palace. In 2007, at age 73, he died of natural causes in Yangon, surrounded by family. His funeral was quiet, without fanfare. Even today, his name is synonymous with the Golden Triangle. For 2 decades, he controlled nearly half of the world's heroin. His story is both a warning and a legend, a man who rose from poverty to become a global crime emperor, manipulating governments, armies, and the world itself. The debate continues. Was Khun Sa just a ruthless drug lord whose heroin destroyed lives? Or a political manipulator who masked his empire as a fight for freedom? Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. Khun Sa will forever remain one of the most notorious figures in the history of organized crime.
The case may be closed, but criminology never sleeps. Like and subscribe at Join Criminology and step deeper into the dark with us.